So hey everyone, and in this video we'll be learning about ReactJS. So in the previous modules we have actually covered the prerequisites HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then we learned about our backend, that is Node.js, and we also used MongoDB with Express.js. So after all that, if you haven't watched those, please watch those videos because we'll be using those concepts also later on along with ReactJS. So please watch those videos. Now, if you have watched those videos, so you can start with the today's concept. So today we are going to learn about ReactJS. ReactJS is what? It's a JavaScript library that we'll be using for our front-end development. Okay, so for the backend, we actually use Node.js Express. For the database, we used MongoDB. For the front end, we use ReactJS. So you might have learned HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you know you can create websites using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So you can consider ReactJS as a modified version. That means you'd be using these three all together, and this is actually known as ReactJS with some extra functionalities. Okay, so the prerequisites are HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So ReactJS is a JavaScript library. It's not a framework for building user interfaces. It was developed by Facebook. So it allows developers to create reusable UI components that update efficiently and declaratively respond to changes in data. For example, you have a navigation bar in your website that is showing you home, about, contact section at the top, right? So in normal HTML, if I talk about normal HTML pages, you don't have some components, okay? You usually copy paste the navigation bar in every page. But in React.js, we can actually create a small component out of navigation bar, and we can just use that component name everywhere. So it makes things a lot easier. It just minimizes your code, and it has different functionalities, like you can use complete JavaScript code inside this. You can use JavaScript functions directly, and what else you can do is you can just call data from your APIs, and if data is taking much longer time, then you can actually manage things very easily, and it actually enhances your user experience. So later on we'll be learning some features as along we code with it. So right now just assume that it's way more better than normal HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So now if you're wondering then why you must learn it, so you just got a very basic example why you must use it, that is it at least gives you components. Okay, later on you'll be learning more. So at its core, React uses a virtual DOM, that is document object model, to efficiently update only the parts of actual DOM that need to change. That means in normal HTML, if I talk about, it just changes the complete DOM, but in React.js, it just updates the only area which needs the update. For example, you just want to update the profile picture in the whole page, so it would just update the whole profile picture, not the complete page. So it doesn't reload the page, it just changes a specific part of the page. So in some cases you might need that. So React.js is very helpful, and it saves a lot of data and makes the UI very helpful. Okay, so this leads to better performance and a smoother user experience. Now, why we must use React.js? So React.js has component-based architecture. That means you can create a component of navbar, footer, and like that, and then you can use it in every page. Then it provides virtual DOM. That means it only updates that page, that part of the page which needs any update for better performance and better results. Okay, then it has declarative syntax. React.js uses a declarative syntax, makes it easier to understand and predict how the UI will behave based on the current state. That means you can give conditional statements like, if this happens, I will show the loading screen. If this happens, I'll show the whole data, like that. So you can add conditional statements and you can add declarative syntax accordingly. Okay, so just same JavaScript code, that is you can use ternary operators or if-else statements to do this kind of stuff. Okay, then it has one-way data binding. That means React enforces a unidirectional data binding. That is, it makes it easier to show how data would flow. That means we would be having a app.js file which is directly connected to a single HTML file. So app.js file which would be containing all our different pages, home page, about page, and contact page, and according to the specific route it would show the pages. So it just creates a branch. So everything starts with index.js. Okay, inside index.js you would be calling app.js. Inside app.js you would be calling different pages. Okay, so we'll be learning the folder structure of React.js, but I'm showing that it has a branched structure. Okay, then it has a very large community. React.js has a very large and active community. And after React Native, actually, if you want to shift to mobile app development, you can directly start learning React Native, because React Native allows you to build Android and iOS applications, so it's very helpful. And all the concepts of ReactJS are applicable in React Native, almost all. And you have to add some new features in React Native, but almost all the concepts, and you can learn React Native very easily if you learn ReactJS. Okay, so if you want to become a full stack developer which also knows mobile app development, so you can start with ReactJS, and then later on you can shift to React Native for mobile development. Okay, now the next thing is it has a very big ecosystem and has very big tools. Like for example, very simple thing, like if I talk about a website like Book My Show, it has a date stamp. Like you can just select tickets according to the date, so you have a very big date stamp, and you have different UI components, so you can actually use the packages using npm. You can use those packages and you can use it in your React application. So later on we'll be using packages also into our React application. So now, why ReactJS is not a framework, it's a library? Why? Because ReactJS has very less things inside it. You have to download extra things for it. For example, extra tools, extra packages. So that's why ReactJS is just a library, it's not a framework. If I talk about AngularJS, which is created by Google, and it's an alternative to ReactJS. If you are learning MERN stack, you learn ReactJS. If you are learning mean stack, you learn AngularJS. So AngularJS is actually a framework because it has almost everything inside it. That means if I just give you a very basic example of navigation, later on we'll be learning about it in ReactJS. You use navigation packages in ReactJS by installing them separately, but in AngularJS it's inbuilt, so you just need to use the code, write the code directly. You don't need to install anything separately in AngularJS. That's why Angular is a framework. ReactJS, you need to install some things, so it's a library. Okay, that's it. So now I have given you a very basic introduction to ReactJS. So later on we'll be learning a lot things in its journey. So now guys, first of all, let's try to install it. Okay, let's try to install it. But before that, I would recommend all of you to guys, please at least brush up your basics of ReactJS with, first of all, I'll be covering all the basics, but before that, you need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and also please cover the Node.js part, which we have covered before. And also, if you can watch my video on GitHub, please watch that so that you know how to upload the code on GitHub. And if you can learn the version controlling properly, then that's really great, because version controlling is something which is very less taught, but like very less developers actually learn version controlling, that is about GitHub properly. I would recommend please learn that properly so that it would be help you if you are looking for a job or an internship. They would ask for this skill, okay, because this skill is actually useful when you want to share code or upload code or look for bugs. So very useful is version controlling. Okay, so now let's continue, and I would be just opening my VS Code. So guys, here I would be creating a new folder and I'll just name it as ReactJS. So if you want to get the complete source code, I would just show you where is the complete source code. So you can just visit my GitHub profile. You can just type JS. If you tried this, you can see this is the official website, react.dev. Just visit here and you can see, if I go to learn React, and inside this you can see we have a very good documentation actually. So if you get sometimes stuck with new stuff, you can actually read this, you would get a very good idea. Okay, but we'll be covering all of them, don't worry, at least the important part would be covered. And now if I go to installation, I would simply go to start a new project, and here you can see here we are getting create next tab. So this is actually for Next.js, it's not for normal React.js. So there is a difference between React.js and Next.js. Although Next.js is a modified version, you can say it's a full stack framework of React.js. Okay, so Next.js is a framework of React.js. React.js is a library and Next.js is a framework of React.js. Very confusing. But anyways, first of all, we'll be learning the basic React.js. Then we'll be starting with Next.js in the next module. Okay, but right now we'll be just starting with React.js. So for just installing React.js, we actually have a command named as create react app, and actually they have removed it this time because in the modified version, the latest version, we directly start with next app. But first of all, let me just teach you what is basic React.js, then we'll be starting with Next.js in the next module. Okay, but yeah, for tutorial reference, you can actually go to the official website, and here you can go to learn React, and if you want to just learn something, you can learn it from here, but we'll be covering everything. Okay, so let's close this now. And now I'll just open my React.js folder. So guys, make sure you have installed VS Code properly in your computer. You can watch my module 1 for VS Code installation, and also you have installed Node.js properly. You can watch those videos. Previously we have covered the installation of each. Now I would simply come here and go to my terminal, new terminal, and here for installing React.js we simply type npx. Npx is a command which is used to directly install things from the internet. Okay, so npx, without actually like we have a command named as create React app. Okay, so this command is actually not available in npm. So if you don't want to download this, just directly install things from the internet. That's why we use npx. Okay, so now if I just write the app name, so my first app, okay, or my first website, better. Okay, my first website. So now let's see what it actually does.